Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Remarkably You podcast. This is a podcast I set up to get to see life from the eyes of other people who've done something remarkable, remarkable stuff like maybe writing a book or setting up their own venture or giving back to society. And today we have Mridul. Mridul is an engineer, and very interestingly, a while back, long back, he won a gold medal in the mathematics Olympiad. He's been working for about 2 decades across industries. He tells me there are very few industries he hasn't covered. And he's given up his corporate life, of course, now. Set up his own venture. It's called V&V Foods, wherein he's helping farmers get fair deals for their organic produce. And he's also written a book, Success. More about that later. So today we're going to talk about Mridul's journey, his venture, how he's helping people, giving back, and of course his book. So welcome to the show, Mridul.
Yeah, hi Greg. How are you doing?
Doing good, yeah. Staying at home in the days of the lockdown, so doing good though.
Yeah.
And so Mridul, I just wanted to open up by saying, you left your corporate and started this venture, this adventure, as you call it. So tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, I think, Greg, it all started off with a small thought, which was always at the back of my mind in terms of getting something back to the society. And at the junction of my career, say 18, 20 odd years, some point of time I realized it's time to push back and think over in terms of giving back something to society, which I've already incurred, which I've already experienced, right? So that is where the thought came up. And that is where my experience goes in little back in terms of reaching out to a particular farmer who really was in a bad shape. And that is where the thought came in, why these are the people who really make us live for our lives. I mean, these are the people who really make sure that we get the best of the stuff on the dining table. And these are the the people who are suffering the most, right?
Wow.
So I think that was a thought that came from my mind, and on top of it, I always wanted to have wanted to create a value for myself, right? So that is where I feel that I have to give back something to the society.
So Mridul, where did this thought come from? Was there a trigger point? Did it come one fine day? Is it something that's been building up over a period of time? So help me understand that.
Yeah. So I think there was always this thought process at the back of my mind to help people, help the needy one, help the underprivileged one who really are living below the poverty line. And I would not say that there was sense of injustice to them, but yeah, had there been a great opportunities to them, they would have come up better. So I thought this rational posture has to be there to set up space for themselves, to create a platform for themselves to come up and come up in terms of getting them a fair chance to get best of their skills, get of their efforts. So that is where I feel that, and having lived in the corporate life for 18 or 20 years, I realized that the kind of experience the kind of experience I've given. So I thought, let's club this skill set. Let's give my experience. And obviously there was a right intent. So for getting the right kind of intent and a purpose, you need to have the resources as well. So that is where I feel that, so that's what I feel that, and looking into the food industry, though this is the most sustainable and the most progressive industry, it is still lacking in terms of getting the right due. When I say right due, it starts from the first man who is building up the show. There's the farmers who is really make it happen in terms of sweating it out, giving all that all the blood out to the people in terms of the best of the stuffs, and obviously the consumer part. The consumer part has to have the best of the stuff to their served to the dining table, right? So to bridge
So
this gap,
you're helping not just the farmers, you're also helping the consumers and society at large. So that's interesting. That's interesting. You've also written a book, right, Mridul?
Yeah.
It's called Success.
An expectation, I'll just show you the glimpse of it. So this is the book. success and expectation.
Success.
So, I mean, this is the thought which came to me, that we always define success in monetary terms, right?
Okay.
We always define success by means of the luxuries around. We
Right.
always define success by means of shutting up the critics, right?
Right.
So we need to deep dive within to get the success. So we have to have that self-conscience made, that are we successful in a way what we are living?
Yeah.
Are we successful in a way what we have achieved? And is that the aspiration which we are looking for?
Absolutely.
So that's where the thought came up, that we should, that time has come to redefine our success. And Greg, to be fair, I mean, going back to your life, you should realize that if you can cherish some 50 or 40 odd events, right, which you can cherish for, I mean, that's what success is all about. And we hardly today can cherish, cannot hardly cherish 4 or 5 incidents in the back of our lives that we can cherish for, which we can feel proud of. So, I mean, that's the time has come to redefine ourselves, right? We are always updating ourselves in terms of luxuries, in terms of getting fleet of cars, in terms of getting the best of the lifestyles. But we somehow get that very thought back of our mind, deep dive, that we are not living life of us, we are living life of others, right? That is where, I mean, we should redefine ourselves and what really success mean to us. There is no end to this. After having living this corporate lives for over 18, 19 years, I realized that this could have gone on and on.
And in fact, that's what I really like about your book, that this is what you've talked of. This is what a lot of other people also say, but you're in fact living this day in and day out. And we're going to take a deep dive into that. What I also like about, you know, your book is that you've written it in one sitting, right? One stretch. Wow. How long did it take you?
So, Greg, as I already said, that I'm not a professional writer to start with. I mean, it's more which came up from my thought, which is a flow of emotions, right?
Right.
So I always wanted to be an unprofessional writer than to be a corporate successful guy. So that's what the thought came across to me.
Absolutely.
That it is, so some point of time I always wanted to be a writer in my own sense, right? When I say on my sense, that I want to pen down my thoughts. And this was the time which I can pen down my thoughts, my experiences, my life cycle, right? So that maybe the youngsters or maybe the startup guys have some feel, some motivation, some aspirations out of it, that it is not about living life of others. It is not about living life of luxuries, which is important. It is more to do with your making yourself a better person, a better human being at the end of the day. Right.
Absolutely.
So for that to happen, you have to enjoy each and every moment of your life. And obviously you have to have a contentment within yourself that you are giving some contribution to the society.
Agree. And like I said, this is something that you're also following. Would like to take a little bit of a dive into your business model. So how is it that you're helping farmers? How is it that you're helping society? If you can tell us a little bit about that.
So as I said, it all came from my very thought that the farmers, who is the actual contributor to the good stuff around the table, around the people around, and obviously food is one thing which is more of a necessity, is more of a commodity to us, right? So that is where I mean the farmers, when I started off, because FMCG was a new ground altogether for me, because this is the one sector which I've never touched. And I mean, it's better to experience FMCG rather to getting more into it, to get the people benefited out of it. So you won't believe I spent nearly 6 months in a village out here in Maharashtra. It's called Nandurbar. So obviously I need to have that feel of things in terms of the problems or the pain points the people are facing there.
So are you saying that you went and stayed with the farmers for 6 months?
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying? You
Exactly.
left your house?
Yeah, I left my
and
house.
You stayed?
So
Wow.
Yeah, I stayed for over 6 months. And I make sure that I touch each and every pain points, each and every hearts, each and every people's desires, aspirations, their thought process, right? So that needs to understand, because I still feel that the farmers, who is the actual frontline manager to the system, needs to be get a due out of it,
And
right?
so what you're very interestingly saying, and a lot of this goes against a lot of what these business books tell us, that, you know, get into something that you already know, get into your strengths and stuff like that. So what you're saying, A, you had a passion you wanted to give to people, B, and C, you're saying in 6 months you went from not knowing too much about the farming world, you come out of the other side of 6 months knowing quite a lot about how people operate and stuff. And I think that's that's a very good immersion technique, if I were to say that. I completely immersed yourself into the lives of these farmers. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, great. I would say that the problem with the most of the startups or the entrepreneurs is today is that they are directly going to the solution.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to deep dive to a problem rather than working for a solution.
Right.
And the problem with the food industry today is, though this is the most desirable, most aspired industry, and
Right.
probably the most sustainable industry today,
Right.
but this is lacking in terms of getting those pitch right to the people, to the right people at the right time. So we, as the brand people or maybe the company people, the middlemen are making the show out of it.
Right.
But it is actually the farmers who's making the show.
Right.
So they have to come up upfront, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stating that, yeah, it's because of us that you are getting the best of the stuff. Yeah.
Right.
So that is what I wanted. I wanted those guys to come up. That
Mm-hmm.
is one. And interestingly, when I stayed for over 6 months in the town,
Mm-hmm.
I realized that there are three most crucial things which we are lacking today in our urban life.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, that you should have that never say die attitude. When I say never say die attitude, obviously means that the farmers, they give up everything in fact, that is what I realized, that they are getting hefty interest paid off to the personal lenders out there, right? That is where, and they have they have nothing to lose.
So you mean to say they've taken a lot of loans from personal
Yeah,
money lenders, and they're paying
yeah.
hefty interest back to them, right?
Yeah, and plus they give their lives out. They gave all their lives out to get that thing happen.
Right.
So and on top of it, if they are not getting the due in terms of their returns and all from the government agencies or maybe from the market people out there, I mean, they are all shattered. I mean, but nevertheless, on top of it, they are getting those climate changes or the adverse atmospheres out there.
Right.
So that never die attitude which came up to me over that period of six months. Second, obviously, is you have to live life to the fullest.
Mm-hmm.
You have to live life to the fullest in each and every moment you are in. That is what I've learned. We have always been aspired to grow more and more in lives, getting our savings right, getting the house upgraded, maybe your uh, holiday destination upgraded. I mean, we have always been fighting all through our lives. But look at to those people. I mean, it's very hard to believe that they are living life every moment, though they never know that what future has in store for them. They have all to go for, right? They don't have shelters. I mean, so that is one thing. The second thing which I really realized. Third, obviously, came up that it's not about age. It's not about age. You can start off the operations whichever. Every time is the right time. Every time is the right time. It's never too late in the life, provided you have got the right intent with the right purpose. So that's what my startup idea and the mission goes, that you have to have a right intent with the right purpose. If this goes well, rest all is a byproduct. Your EBIT margins, your profit margins, your P&L statements, blah blah blah, it's all a byproduct. Once you have deep dive the problem, solution will be a byproduct for sure. So that is where my takeaways from that too.
And you've worked in. It's very interesting that you say this, because your background and where you've come from have been some very hardcore numbers-driven organizations. Like let's
Yeah,
say I think Airtel has been
yeah,
one of your organizations. I think it was the last, and you were at a pretty senior position over there,
yeah.
driving numbers, driving sales. You're heading an entire region, I think, and it's interesting to note that you're saying that now, that all of that is a byproduct. Your intent should be in the right place. Yeah. I also see, Mridul, as you're speaking about living a fulfilling life and living every moment and stuff, it's not all about having an easy ride. And that's something that I'm also learning from you. In the beginning, I said this podcast, one of my primary drivers is if I can see things from the eyes of other people and learn from it. So one of the things I am hearing you say implicitly that it's not only about the happy sides. It's not only about fun. Some part of it is also about getting uncomfortable. Like you got uncomfortable leaving a job, writing a book straight up 8 hours, going and spending time with the, like the Japanese call it the Genchi Genbutsu, going and spending time with the farmers and stuff. That must have been pretty tough. Yeah. What is your take on that? This whole business of getting uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about getting uncomfortable. It's getting a soothing effect in terms of realizing what life is all about. I mean, and for that, I would on this podcast, I would like to say that family has been very supportive, because family is one thing which needs you to make your passion live.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought I would like to thank my wife, who's really been by my side all the times. Right. Because once I've given up a job, obviously the kind of lifestyle I was living was not the one that I was sure of, that I will not be having that kind of lifestyle which I've been looking for, right? Which I've been living for, sorry. Right. But for that to happen, I was, at some point of time, I have to take this chance. Because I was always passionate about living life of others rather than living life of myself. I mean, that's really a part. And as you rightly said, I've been uncomfortable at times because I thought that things would have been easy, but that was not that easy. I mean, from the perspective of the changing of the mindset of the people out there. So when I talked to farmers, obviously they were very reluctant for a very resistance. This may be the company, this may be a person who is coming from corporate, coming from luxury life, will get us used, or maybe misused rather, and take away all the efforts of us and getting leverage to him. So that the change of mindset which needs to be driven to those guys was a tough task, right? And I always knew once I get over with the kind of mindset, the change of mindset, obviously I'll get over with all other difficulties which needs to be foreseen. And people ask me that because FMCG is a very niche market, right? And people and the colleagues or the seniors ask me that you have got a very tough competition. For competitions like Hindustan Unilever, Procter & Gamble, or regional players. I mean, so these are the kind of competition people were expecting me to get into. But I said one thing to them. I mean, it is not about competition externally. It is competition within. I have to compete myself because I have to live my passion. And once you are right in your part in terms of your intentions, I mean, you can make it. I mean, it is not about competing others. It is more about competing yourself, living your passion. I mean, that gives me more soothing or the successful feel kind of a scenario to get me into.
And this is something that you mentioned in your book as well, that, once the why is clear, once the intent is clear, then what I hear you say is that the bottlenecks, the obstacles, the discomfort, that clarity of why are you doing what you're doing helps you go over those otherwise insurmountable obstacles, right? How many farmers are you guys dealing with? Across how many regions and stuff like that?
So as we talk this movement, we have 157 odd farmers which we have onboarded. Right. When I say onboarded, obviously owning up them not only from the profit perspective, but owning up their fields as well.
Wow.
So despite of the fact that they are not making the required output or the requisite gains from the crops or maybe the product, they will get the due. So 25% of the total budget, right, which we say the MRP, will be given directly to the farmers upfront.
Wow. And currently, if you were not there, what was the as is? How is it currently happening?
So they were getting, it was very hard for me to believe that they are getting hardly 6.5 to 7% of the
That's putting,
stuff this has been served. I mean, this was very shocking to me. So where were these margins going to? I mean, this is what the middlemen or the brands are taking the due of. Just labeling their product, labeling their company name, labeling their logo, and making the money out of it. And these are the persons who are actually the frontline managers, who are making things happen. And the consumers, who are actually a second bearer to this whole system, are not getting the best of the stuffs, even though they are paying the price.
so you're tying up with these various farmers and taking it either to distributors or to the retail outlets, right? That's your business model basically.
Yeah, so the chain goes like this. So we buy the raw materials directly from the farmers. So we have set up a small processing unit, right? Where obviously this particular product, based on the kind of stuff, in case of spices, there needs to be grinded upon. So there's a grinders out there,
Right.
and so that needs to be processed first with the unit. Once that gets processed, it needs to be stocked up, labeled up, and pass on to the super stockist. Now, super stockist is a person who stock this and get it distributed to the respective distributors. Right. So super stockist invests a small amount of money, take the stuff from us, get his margin, and obviously pass on the buck to the distributors. Now, distributors is the backbone of our distribution channel. When he needs to ensure that the stock is being deported to a right kind of potential outlets. The potential outlet obviously means that that outlet is in the right placement. It's shadowing all the kind of stuff, all the kind of audience which obviously need a good stuff. So this is how the chain works, and each and every you call the member of the team, member of the system, gets his dues. The farmers gets the maximum 25%, 45 to 50% goes directly to the partners, the distributors, super stocks, and the retailers, and 5 to 7% is our operating margin in terms of getting the logistics in place, getting the transportation in place, getting it processed up, getting packed on. So that is how the cycle goes on. And 3 to 4% goes on the refining and the research and the development part of it.
How do you ensure though that the produce, you're saying you deal only in organic stuff, how do you ensure that the produce coming in from the farmer is organic? It does not have any chemicals or fertilizers in it. How do you ensure that?
Yeah. So as I said, we own up the fields directly with the farmers. So when I say we own up the fields, means that each and everything which is happening on that field has to have our eyes on the ground at any given point of time.
Right.
Farmers' due has been taken care of. So when I say that owning up the field means that there will be no pesticides, there will be no adulteration, there will be no chemical addition to it. Because if the farmer is not getting the due, as I said, that they are getting hardly 6.5 to 7%, right? So that is where they come up with adding up pesticides and adulteration like that. So once this 6.5 to 7% goes to 25%, obviously they will not have, they are not bound to go for those adulterations.
Yeah. So very, very often what we keep wondering, why do farmers put in these chemicals and fertilizers and stuff, which are carcinogenic for a lot of us? One of the things contributing to it is the way the system is designed. And that system is driving a particular kind of a behavior. So if you have that system, no matter what you do, if the farmer is, can make a little extra money, he is probably just going to, put those pesticides, those fertilizers, and run that. But what you're saying is, in a way, you're tweaking that system so that it is beneficial for the farmer to, to go organic. I think that's super stuff. That's.
And one more thing, I mean, getting those lives elevated of the farmers. Obviously, we are onboarding them. We are getting the agreement done, so that they will get local bank loans also in terms of getting those resources like tractors and or buying the tractors on. So that we are giving the comfort to the banks, the local regional banks also, that we are the partners here, and they will get fixed 25% of the complete cycle.
Nice.
So they are uplifting their lives as well in terms of getting the stuffs.
So
They
there
do not
are
have to go back to the
so there are
lenders.
other people like you, Mridul, in the, you know, working um, and have these kind of aspirations. Would you say that this is a good model? Would you say that there is space for people to get into a model like this? Um, what's it looking like in the country today?
So that's what I said. I mean, you for the startups who aspire to have their own value created,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I would not advocate that you need to give up your jobs or maybe your process, but you need to live your passion.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have that passion, you should not fall back saying that we need to have that much money to put in. We don't have that much resources to get into. I mean, resources, money is the least eligibility which needs to be filled in to get into a startup for sure. And I'm saying this with a full responsibility because I've been into the system for 1.5 years now. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, so first and foremost, the later part is the intent. You need to have a right intent
Mm-hmm.
to do the business. You
Right.
need to have the right intent to help others. You need to have the right intent to contribute in some percentage and give back to the society.
Mm-hmm.
Second, obviously, the purpose. You need to define or redefine your purpose. So for that to happen, you need to have the problem stated upright. When I say upright, obviously need to deep dive what exactly the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
And third is obviously the resources.
Mm-hmm.
So once you have the right intent and the purpose, resources will follow. I'm sure there are very many good people who will come along the way and you will have your aspirations met out. And you have to have your passion lived.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, had I been living this corporate life for years and years and years, I would have at the age of say 75, 80, if I've lived that much,
Right.
I would have regrets in my mind.
Right.
Yeah, I wanted to live. I got a chance at that point of time at the age of 40, 42,
Right.
which would have prompted me to live my life. And I have not lived. So you should not give away your life with regrets. Never.
Which actually reminds me of something that you say in the book, that you know, many entrepreneurs live in a vacuum. Their focus is razor like, you know. So
Yeah.
isn't that what we've been taught? Isn't, you know, that, you know, you need to have laser like or razor like focus, very sharp focus on what you want to do, but you're saying something different. And obviously what you're saying is actually working for you. So help me understand that, because, you know, that's what most of us would feel like. Focus needs to be very, very pointed
Yeah.
and laser like. But you're saying no.
As you rightly said, I mentioned that in book. And if you go through my book, I mean, there is a set of management theories which I've written, right? And then I have on the later part of the book, I've written the practical aspects of those management skills. I'm a management guy, and I do feel that
Yeah.
management theories are made in the idealistic manner with the ideal platform in mind. But that is not the case when it comes to your practical lives.
Mm-hmm.
So razor focus obviously needs to be done with the right intent and the purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, focus has to be there. I mean, that is the the mandatory requirement which we need to follow. I mean, that cannot be treated as a exceptional skills. But obviously, there's a part of the system that you need to have it. But focus has to be in the right manner with the right kind of passion. I mean, once you have to enjoy what you do. And over a period of 18, 20 years in my corporate life, I feel personally that the moment you enjoy your life, enjoy your work, enjoy the things you do, you will have a fair bit of output.
Yeah.
Once you are not enjoying your life, once you are not enjoying your work, you will not do justice to the output of the work.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So you need to enjoy what you do.
And Mridul, looking at your life, what I see is that you were in a job, a pretty well-paying job, and you know what I'm also taking away from that is that not having razor-like focus is, yes, you need to focus, but sometimes you need to pull out and look at your intent, your purpose. Where is it that you want to go? How are you leading a more fulfilling life? How are you leading every minute of your life or every day of your life to the fullest, or as
yeah,
close to the fullest?
even if you are in the corporate life or maybe in a job, it is not about 9 to 5 stuff.
Yeah.
it is always about giving your very best, enjoying your work, and obviously giving playing like a role model to your colleagues, playing a role model for your subordinates. You won't believe, during my last assignment, I was very touched to the guys who were so-called off-role or offshore people.
Mhm.
They were always striving hard each and every day, living in a insecurity manner that this may be the last day for them. So I make them feel कि you should not be insecure in living life of others. Rather, you should enjoy your work, getting the best out of you. And obviously, it is not about doing a job. It is not about getting a salary. It is not about giving back to the company. It is more about inheriting the best learnings out of each and every job which you are into. I mean, it's more about learning. I mean, man or a human being is always in a process of learning the last breath of his life, for sure. I mean, I'm still learning. As I told you, FMCG was a new ball game altogether for me. But I've learned it, and I can challenge. I mean, maybe an FMCG guy. I take interviews of the sales guys who have been there for 27 odd years. But I could not be a better off, but I can be at par to them in terms of discussions to the sales team. So that is where, because the reason being, because I enjoy this.
Right.
I have the passion to be to create a value for myself, to create a value for others, to give back to the society, contribute to others. I mean, that's the holistic thought which obviously came from me for me to get into. Yeah.
Interesting. And Mridul, to close, I just want to say, when I started off with the session, what I said was learning was one of the big pieces for me. Um, I hear you saying something similar. And my three takeaways from speaking with you and interacting with you, and this is not something that I've written down or pre-thought of, I'm just letting it flow and, seeing what emerges from the conversation. So, the three pieces that I'm taking away from this is, one, your passion, right? If you have a passion, if you have an idea of what is it that you really want to do, keep one eye on that passion, whatever job that you're doing or whatever vocation you're following, but can you keep one eye on that passion? So that's the first piece. The second piece I'm seeing, I'm taking away from this is learning is central. Yeah, one needs to be a learner for life, sort of a thing. And I think the third piece is action, right? So I have this passion, I have this learning, and it's not, it's not about taking perfect action. Your book talks about that, right? That it's not about being a perfect writer. You wanted to write not because you wanted to show people how well you're writing, but the fact that you can write, the fact that you can write it in 8 hours, the fact that you've never written, that probably nobody would see as a writer. You yourself don't see yourself as a writer, but that you're going to write. So taking that action and going that distance. So Mridul, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah. Thanks, man.